Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back to another Fishing Forward Radio Last Cast presented by Tackle Webs. We hope to do more live episodes like this. This is our first time, and we're very excited. You know, we usually do a live radio show on Saturday mornings. This is a little bit different, but we're really excited to have our first guest on. He has been literally running around all week with his head cut off. Why?
Yeah.
He and his partners are aiming to start the new National Professional Fishing League here in 2021. The new trail is going to field 125 great anglers competing for $50,000 or more at each event, and they have a 6-event schedule and a championship. He's the majority owner, and we couldn't be happier to welcome him. So Fishing Forward Radio welcomes from elite angler Al McCulloch. Good morning, and thank you for your time, Al.
Good morning to you, Steve, and all those folks out there listening to your podcast and live feed.
So normally when we do interviews on the radio show, I always like to find out a little bit about the person. So how did you get introduced into the outdoors, into fishing?
Well, like the majority of folks, with your dad, he taking my brother and I out. We're from the St. Louis area. We went out to Bush Wildlife a lot, did a lot of bank fishing. They had numerous ponds out there, and it was a conservation park that August Bush put together years ago to the St. Louis community. So my dad got me hooked up, no pun intended, on fishing there with the old Zebco rod. We had a lot of parks around the neighborhood, and then we would take trips down to, Lake of the Ozarks, Bull Shoals, Table Rock, Bennett Springs, from bass fishing to crappie fishing to trout fishing, opening season with the uncles, dad, brother. So it was just kind of a thing. We did a lot of camping. Of all the uncles and my dad, they bought Starcraft pop-up campers, and we'd hit the road in spring, summer, and fall and have a good old time. You just had to make sure those things would level when you had the kids on one bed and the parents on the bed, so it didn't tilt.
So you've been running around. I mean, I saw you last night. We texted. You were getting on a plane. You guys started this new. Well, you just announced it on Monday. This new National Professional Fishing League. How did that come about with you and your other partners that are with you?
Okay, so I got into the optics and logistics and the tournament side through the Terrell family.
Okay.
They run Anglers in Action Team Tournament Trail here in the Midwest. They run about 18 events, and their big event is the Big Bass Bash, which they've got 2 at Lake of the Ozarks, 1 at Grand Lake, and 1 at Pickwick. So I cut my teeth there with Randy Terrell, the founder and tournament director, and his son and daughter, Charlie and Marie. They're also owners of the business. So they brought me on board about 15 years ago. My first job at the Big Bass Bash was basically handing weigh-in bags to anglers.
Yeah.
Just kind of, starting at the bottom rung, so to speak. They said, hey, go out there, work hard, and then it's morphed into basically being the MC for the events, being the weigh-in master on stage, kind of like a Chris Jones or a Dave Mercer, and that's where I am today. But I definitely all of my insights and knowledge as far as running a tournament trail from Randy, Charlie, and Marie.
Have you ever been on the other side of it and fished any of those tournaments? Have you ever tried out in any opens or anything like that?
I fished some local wildcats and derbies with
Okay.
friends and partners and everything. But as far as the BFLs or Costas or anything up at the top leagues, no, I haven't done any of that stuff. I just never really had time nor the money to do it. I know where my talent is, and I know where my zone is. My zone is on the side, optically and logistically, to put together a tournament trail for anglers that from the time they check in to the time they get their check, it runs as smoothly as possible. You're going to have some hurdles and some bumps in between, but through my 15 years of working with the Terrell family, you couldn't ask for a better, mentors to doing that on the side as far as tournament director or owning a professional fishing trail.
So when of course Monday this news comes out, and it just everything. Last week it was all Major League, or last couple weeks it's been all Major League Fishing FLW, that acquisition. When you
Correct.
saw that acquisition, I think I read someplace that you said you had it in your mind to make this trail some time ago, but it never came to fruition until this acquisition with Major League Fishing and FLW. What happened during that transition that made you go, we need to get an angler oriented and angler centric tournament going? What happened there? How did that happen?
So basically, 3 years ago, I wrote up a business plan for the Midwest market to have a team trail or a solo trail that was a little bit more higher entry and more payback volume.
Okay.
Most of the trails around here, whether it's a solo or whether it's a team trail, is about a $200 entry fee. You're looking anywhere from a $3,000 to $5,000 payback. So I said, you know what? What if we went to a $1,000 entry fee and we did a $10,000 or $20,000 payback? I shelved that. I got too busy. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then when you started hearing the rumors about Major League Fishing purchasing FLW about 5 weeks ago, and like I said, a lot of contacts in the industry, going to various elite events, FLW. So I've got a good Rolodex of contacts as far as vendors, anglers, etc. I dusted off that business plan and said, you know what? The initial rumors on this thing was 3 days of limits, 3 days of MLF format.
Yeah.
For these guys coming from the FLW tour. So I said, hey, here's an opportunity to put together another option for these guys, or a choice for them that best fits, their family, their business, or their job. To me, everything that comes down with the pro fishing, it's two things. It's fan involvement, okay, where your sponsors are going to get a return on their investment, mm-hmm. and it's big limits. I know that these guys go to some of these fisheries, and you hear it all the time and stuff, and it really, I'm perplexed by it. If you go to a fishery and you're fishing for $50,000 or $20,000 and the winning weight is 15 pounds or 13 pounds,
yeah,
you're still getting paid $20,000, $50,000. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a 20, 25 pound bag, but I understand the excitement behind it. Everybody likes to see those 5 and 6 and 8 pounders. So for me, as far as the upper echelon or the top tier of professional bass fishing, those fans, those anglers, they want to see big fish, big limits. They want to come up on stage. They want to snap them out of that weigh-in bag. They want to show them off there, and you want to live stream it. Bass does a great job of it. FLW Tour does. Major League Fishing is a great format, the conservation aspect and all that stuff. We just felt with the ownership group, Brad and Michelle Fuller of Omega Custom Tackle, along with Paul Benson of Cash and Rods, that, hey, here's an opportunity for 125 guys that maybe have qualified but haven't gotten the invite to the elites or the FLW Tour or the FLW Pro Circuit or Major League Fishing, for them to come out and show their skills off to the fans out there and to show off to their sponsors. And that's one reason that I was adamant about when we do these events starting in 2021. This is going to be a trailer weigh-in event. If you've ever been to a classic, you see that boat and truck come rolling in there. The mm-hmm. excitement is there. That angler sitting in that boat, brings out those fish in that bag, walks across the bridge, up on the stage. Dave Mercer hits it up there, and the fans get excited. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to do as far as our weigh-in process goes. And I think that's really going to give, whether it's folks that are already in the industry as sponsors or people outside the industry that want to get into an $800 billion market as far as the outdoor world goes, now they've got another choice, and so do the anglers that are sitting on the sidelines that are great coaster or BFL guys. So
when this acquisition happened, and we all have all these friends in the industry, you don't have to tell me specific names by any means, but did you talk to any anglers and get their opinion on what's happening and then say, hey, look, this is what we plan to do in 2021? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. My first thing was, I went to my phone list and I started friends and started calling up these anglers on all the tours.
Yeah.
Guys that have been out there for 10 years, 15 years, guys that have been in the middle of their career 5 or 6, and guys that are basically rookies or in their second year. And I said, look, this is what I'm putting together. This is what I have on paper and stuff. And when that process started, you got to remember that the format for the FLW Pro Circuit, which they call it now, that was 3 days of limits, 3 days of MLF style. So guys were kind of in between what they were going to do. And I said, look, if I put this together, do you have an interest? I said, these are kind of the bullet points. I had about 91 guys in the professional level sign NDAs. I also looked at Costa guys, BFL guys. And I went through a 4-week process where I probably averaged about 4 hours of sleep per night. And I just threw out scenarios. Hey, here's 10 different pay periods that we can have for an event. Which one do you guys want to vote on? Do you guys rather do a tub and bag weigh-in or a trailer event weigh-in? As far as us doing a national professional league, we're going to go out west. So I took into account what the anglers were feeding back to me. And everything you see on that press release, I might have laid out at the beginning, but there was a lot of cut and paste and copying, erasing, you name it. I mean, good gracious, I need about 20 more erasers by the time I finally got to this, along with Brad, Michelle, and Paul, my partners, all going through all of this and doing our due diligence, saying, okay, here it is right now. I will tell you this, and this is, for the, a lot of people out there, as far as the feedback goes, oh, it's $30,000. This is not a working man's professional fishing league, et cetera, et cetera. Here's what I want to define on that and the working man. Look, we could do a $2,500 fishing league and stuff, but the payouts are going to go down. We're doing 80-20, and then if you really factor it all in, we're doing 85-15 because we're taking those entry fees and putting $250,000 towards the championship for the top 25 that qualify by 5 points. So the guy that 25th is going to make $5,000 at the top is going to make $50,000. But we went through this and said, look, we want to know what the anglers want and is best for them. When we do this, we're going to go out west. We're going to look at the Clear Lakes, the Shastas, the Havasu's, the Meads. This is a national tournament. And I think the way that we're going to set up this scheduling with 2 in the spring, 2 in the summer, and 2 in the fall, yes, I know it's difficult for people that have a job or own a business that want to have dreams of fishing professionally against big sticks and big money. But I think spreading that out and not being so top-heavy in the spring will help them to schedule, okay? And I got all this feedback from the anglers, and bam, that's what we put out there on Monday.
So do you expect some of the elite and Major League Fishing and FLW pro guys to possibly join the new it's the NPFL?
The National PFL, yeah.
Yeah, NPFL.
I'm not a big acronym guy. I used to, I'm in trucking. There's acronyms for acronyms. But the National Professional Fishing League or the National PFL, trust me, we will have it short when it comes to emails. I don't want to keep anybody. They'll be like, what are you doing, my man? That's always the possibility. That's not the goal of this. I'll tell you what the goal of this was. Huge respect for all those guys on the elite side. Huge respect for the MLF guys, Bass Pro Tour, FLW Pro Circuit, from everybody that runs those events, those organizations, and the anglers and everything. There's a lot of guys on the outside looking in that are hammers that people don't know about. From the Costas, from the BFL All-Americans, from the collegiate level. I mean, look at what look at what Bass and Cabela's has done for collegiate bass fishing. I mean, it's unbelievable. Well, there's only so many spots in those organizations right now. Okay, so we're starting this off at 125. I talked to a lot of these anglers. They've got a choice. It's going to come down to scheduling, whether these guys on the elite sides or FLW Pro Circuit can do that. But that's really not my biggest concern. My biggest concern, number one, is scheduling around Bass Open events, because I don't want to take away that opportunity for those individuals that fish my circuit to not have a chance to go win a classic. That would just be ignorant. They're taking money, you're taking food off the table, and look, let's be honest, the classic is the granddaddy of all. It's the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
I know we're not there. We're going to get there. And, we're going to push, and competition is good for everybody in the market, okay, for sponsors and anglers and the families and all that stuff. But as far as things go like that, I'm looking at a lot of guys that are on the outside looking in, and we're accepting resumes right now on our email addresses up until the end of November. Now, the biggest hurdle that we're going to have to do, we might have a stack this high. We're going to have to go through all of us. and we're going to be transparent as possible. We're going to put out, kind of some benchmarks of how we're making these choices because we want to be honest with these individuals. Sometimes I think in the industry they get 70% of the story.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is held back. And I can understand people's business decision on that. For us, though, we want to do this. We're giving them an opportunity to have a platform for 3 years so they can go sell their sponsors to say, look, live streaming is what it's all about.
So, talking about live streaming, do you have an idea on how many cameras and camera boats you are planning to have, and is it going to be something that you have on an app, or is it going to be on social media or a website?
I want 900 cameras. No, I'm just kidding.
That'd be awesome.
No, so here's the logistics of that we're working through, but we understand the importance of it. Our investment is very heavy into the optics of this trail. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about from the launch to on-boat camera to the weigh-in.
Yeah.
You've got to have this thing really pop. We want it to be, a combination of Metallica and Jimi Hendrix. When these people come out and watch these anglers pop on there, we want a lot of lights. We want a lot of noise. We want excitement. So as far as the camera stuff goes, we're working with 3 media companies that are putting bids together for us, and some great people inside the industry currently and some ones outside the industry. Because what I think is important there is we're kind of accustomed to the same view. We're kind of accustomed to that same back view, no 360 views, nothing at a different angle. We get some great drone coverage and stuff like that. I'm not saying that helicopters and EC2s and all that stuff are in the budget, but we want to bring something that's a little bit different because everybody, when it comes down to watching bass fishing, whether it's a weigh-in or it's on the water, it's all on a laptop, a PC, an iPad, or a phone. Nothing against TV. We will always entertain everything. But the live streaming, perfect example right now, 2021 in March, we're going to have 2 events plus our championship. A lot of guys are going to be in deer stands. It can get pretty boring. We'll have a format where they can sit up there. Hopefully they'll bring a couple extra batteries for their smartphones. But we're going to show that in the fall time, and that's going to give us huge exposure. So as far as that goes, I will tell you this. We're not cutting any corners when it comes to live streaming because we understand how important that is, especially for the sponsors. When you talk about them pulling up to the weigh-in stage, from the bumper to their prop, all the logos will be up there for 60 to 90 seconds, and that's good cachet and return on investment for the sponsor.
Have you been talking to any major sponsors to get them involved, and what has been their response to what you're putting out there for them?
So, yeah, I've had some initial talks with some big-time sponsors and some smaller sponsors and some in between. I'm still fairly new as far as the sponsor engagement, simply because my biggest concern was to get this thing out there as far as a press release, get a good foundation, and then build from there. Look, we've got basically 16 months before we wet a line in March of 2021, okay? But the reception as far as that going out there to the sponsors, hey, we'll take a look at it, and wow, we've got another option. Not to take a – look, there's a lot of people on the outside as far as brands, products, and companies that really don't have an understanding of the bass fishing world and how huge it is.
Yes.
I mean, high school teams, college, BFLs, Costas, and then the top tiers with Bass and MLF and FLW Pro Circuit. So there's a lot of people whose brands cross over. Let's take an example, and here's out for my competition out there. Take an Alamo or a Hertz. You can't tell me that a lot of those anglers out there, when they go on vacation, they don't rent a truck, van, or car for their family. Goodness gracious. Can you imagine putting that placard up there? So all you people at Bass and FLW, I gave you a sponsor to call. There you go.
Let's hope not. Because really, the success of this National Professional Fishing League really is going to depend on the sponsors that you have, making sure all this comes together somewhat seamlessly, because I imagine you're going to have, like even for our radio show, we've been doing this for 14 years. doing this live stuff like this right now is a completely new way of doing things for us. But it is something that you have to kind of practice. You're gonna have to do almost complete simulation of how they come on stage, how you talk about it, how long they talk about it, all that stuff. How do you get how are you going to get people to come out like b.a.s.s does? Like, one of the things I've been very vocal and I've been saying all year. No offense to Major League Fishing, they don't get anybody to show up to the weigh-ins because you know what has happened already. b.a.s.s is overwhelming with the amount of people. FLW not as much. How do you guys separate yourself and try to attract those fans to come in and see your anglers participate and see how they do when the tournaments start going?
Well, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. It's classified. Yeah. No, just kidding. Here's the deal. I've got a lot of good ideas that I've written down over the years as far as how do you incentivize the fan to participate in the event.
Yes.
So here's the deal. The way that our events will be set up, it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday practice. Wednesday is media and meeting day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday is the tournament day. Okay? Thursday and Friday is going to be a little bit difficult for those people because they're working. You come in, you first flight at 3 o'clock. To get somebody to get off and come in there on a Thursday or Friday, maybe a little bit more. Saturday, the involvement as far as participation with the fans is going to be a lot greater. Okay? But there's two factors of this. The live streaming portion of it, as far as people watching, clicks, comments, etc., that's going to be a huge part for us as far as showing data to these sponsors so they'll invest with us. Even though they might not be those fans on site, they are still there watching the event, and those sponsors are getting a return as far as exposure goes. As far as getting individuals to come to the event at a weigh-in, say we do an event at Lake of the Ozarks and we're off-site, I've got a lot of different scenarios as far as incentivizing. How do we get the turnstiles moving? I've got a goal. I want 500 people there minimum on Saturday, which I think is very doable.
Without any problem.
For people to come out. I want them to bring their kids out to see these great anglers. Look at these, different anglers and the fish that they bring in at these great fisheries. We're going to do things to where it's fishing, but we'll have different things that'll be there for the kids to enjoy. Maybe how to pitch, how to cast, just different things where we make this a huge. I wouldn't say I've been doing a lot of reading on Barnum and Bailey, and he was a great entrepreneur as far as drawing in the spectator, and we're going to be incentivizing them as far as whether it's giveaways, whether it's a contest to where hey, you come in there and there's an opportunity to maybe if an Oklahoma angler is there, that maybe they can go out a half day fishing with them, et cetera, et cetera. But we've got a lot of plans because we understand the importance of those people in seats at the events as far as the weigh-in goes. But like I said, there's a lot of things on the books, and we're going to throw everything against the wall, and we're going to see what works. Some of it will, and some of it won't.
You talked briefly about the media. You're going to have a day for are you going to have, one of the great things about b.a.s.s, b.a.s.s puts on at the Classic a media day where it's just a lunch where the media come out there and they get to see the anglers and talk to the anglers. Have you thought about doing something like that so that the media can come in when hopefully you come down to Florida, hopefully?
We'll be there.
Okay, I'm there to cover it for sure, but are you going to have it so we have an opportunity to talk to the anglers before the fishing tournament, and then at the same time, are you going to allow media on the boats with the anglers during the tournament? Is that an option you've looked at?
So, to answer your first question, the media is going to have complete access on that Wednesday, awesome, which is media and media. Look, we understand the partnership, guys like yourself, and the various other media outlets, whether it's print, whether it's social media, etc. So absolutely, you guys are going to have a seat at the table there. We're not going to sit there and say you in, you out. If you want to come down and cover it and grow your show or grow your print, absolutely, we'd love to have you there. We'll be drawing up a list of, I'd say, how the logistics of it's going to work. Some guys might be able to get down there on a Sunday or a Monday and kind of, cover a little of the practice time. Some guys, as far as their schedule goes, maybe can only come down from Wednesday to Saturday or whatever. But one thing that we've done with the anglers, and in fact, is going to them and getting their input. Hey, I'm going to sit down with you guys. Come on, throw ideas out. What's going to make it logistically work best and fluid for you guys? Because, yeah, you've got time and all that stuff, but you also got to get back and you got to write the article, or you got to do your podcast and everything. So we're going to get input from you guys that are interested in covering the events. Like I said, we'll be down at Florida. As far as the boat, ideal way for us as far as the coverage on the boats, and we're working with the different media groups. You know, the ultimate goal, what we're going to strive for, is 125 marshals to be on those boats with all the anglers. We're working with Garmin, or GoPro, Apple, and stuff like that, as far as so we can get some of that live footage on some of the other boats that we don't have the cameras on there. But look, Bass last year and FLW, they had problems getting marshals to fill up those spaces at charging $200.
Yes.
We're not going to go that route. Okay. This is going to be on a volunteer basis. We're going to give them some swag. We're going to incentivize these marshals to come out with these anglers because we want to keep the integrity. Plus, we also want that live streaming video out there. But we're working with the media companies. They're going to give us the best ideas they think as far as how to cover this on the water. As far as the launch, the media day, and the weigh-in, it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than being out on that water, plus the roaming camera boats and et cetera like that. But as far as the media guys go and access to the anglers, we'll be going over with the anglers, hey, you need to make yourself available from this time to this time on that Wednesday, and we'll run it through and make it as painless as possible for both parties, not only the angler, but also for guys like yourself.
That I love to hear. That I love to hear. Do you think that you're going to be able to field 125 right now? I know the other day I saw something that said you had already had a bunch of applications, like way more than you ever anticipated after a day. Do you think 125 is going to be easy to fill, or is it going to be tough?
So I will tell you this. When I started this process 4 weeks ago, the feedback from guys that I had contacted on the coastal level, on the BFL level, guys on Triple T, Alabama Bass Trail, whatever it might be, the upper echelon kind of AAA of baseball, and then on the pro circuits, I had 91 NDAs signed in 2 weeks.
Okay? That's awesome.
So as far as answering your question, yeah, it's still going to be hard. You know, I'm not going to take it for granted. We're going to be taking these resumes, and they've been pouring in. And like I said, the difficult part, but we're going to be transparent about it, is who's the 125? Who gets the invite? Look, we're not going to make everybody happy. I know there's going to be a lot of griping and all that stuff, but here's the beautiful thing about it. We're going to work through this. Those 125 guys, they're going to have a 2-year contract with an option of a third. And the benefit for both the angler and the organization is, number one, we can market these guys' personalities, their brands, etc. The angler can go to the sponsors and the people that finance their dreams and say, look, I've got a 3-year contract and a platform where I'm going to be fishing 6 events and to qualify for a championship. You know where your money and your live stream and exposure is going to be at. I'm not going to say it's a drop in the bucket on filling the 125, but I'm very confident based on the 3 weeks, 4 weeks of signing the NDAs, and then what I've seen come in the last 3 days as far as email resumes. We've got to go back and we've got to, as good old Ronald Reagan would say, we got to trust, but we got to verify. We got to make sure that those contracts are what is on there as far as all doing the research, and that's the beauty of the internet. We can go through and we can find out those results, BFL results, Triple T, Alabama Bass, etc. So hey, we got a lot of good sticks and anglers in action team tournament trail too. We'll be looking at those guys too. We got some hammers in Ozark.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, one of the good things about the live feeds and the live streaming, and there's always been for Major League Fishing, there's a score tracker. For the Bass Elites, there is the Bass Track. Is there any possibilities, or have you looked into doing that since the marshals are there already? Hopefully marking down what they think the guesstimates of the weights are. Is there going to be something like that that we'll be able to see as the tournament is running?
Yes, there will be a live leaderboard, and these things will be streamed into our server. A couple of the media companies that we're talking to, facilities. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
So to go back, yes, there'll be a live leaderboard. The media companies that we are in negotiations with, this is a must on the list of what we need them to do. They'll be updated as far as on the boat, pushed in there and everything. But here's one thing as far as that leaderboard goes. You know, and I love b.a.s.s, and they did a great job. And when Ott Defoe won the Classic down in Knoxville,
yeah,
one of the things that was a little bit disappointing, great coverage, great event. You stood in the arena for 4 hours, 3 hours, and you knew who won.
Mm-hmm.
You knew who won. There was no setup for the hot seat, the drama. Did he do it? Is it an ounce? Is it by a pound? Did he only have 4 fish, 5 fish? You know, when it comes to Saturday, and, you know, we launch out there at Safe Flight or 7 a.m., and first flight is due in at 3 o'clock. And these gentlemen or ladies, you never know, might qualify a lady for this circuit because there's a lot of good lady sticks out there. We want to cut off that live coverage on the water early enough to where there's suspense. People that are at that weigh-in, man, I don't know if, John Smith did it, or I don't know if, Pete did it. I don't know. We want people to stay there till the end. We want that individual angler that's on the hot seat. Yeah, I got some updates, but it's quit at noon. Well, what's going on? It's a hot seat for a reason. Heck, you see those guys over there, they might as well be sitting in air conditioning.
Yeah.
You know? But no, we're going to do that. We're going to work out the logistics because, like I said, everything comes down to the optics. We want people to tune in on that weigh-in from the very first boat truck that pulls up to the very last one. If they already know who the winner is based on on-water coverage, you lose that return on investment and exposure for the anglers and the sponsors because then you lose a ton of clicks and visual and comments on there.
Okay, I've had a bunch of people asking questions, so I'm going to ask a couple questions that people have been doing here. Mark Tomlinson wrote, would you consider having a wild card slot for an average Joe fisherman to join the league?
Wow. It's a neat idea.
Different.
You know, I will tell you this. Last night after we got done with Ike Live, Brad, Michelle, and Paul and I were doing work on our laptops. Brad is overseas. For people who don't know, Brad is still works for the U.S. government. He's a Air Force veteran, and he still does contract work. He'll be over in Afghanistan for the next 4 months. So to all those individuals out there that are in the service or police, fire, and EMTs, we appreciate everything they do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a great point, a wild card. Absolutely. This thing is about a platform for guys that are on the outside in or on the outside looking in. That wild card is a great idea. That's something that, I'm going to put down on the list and we'll talk about to where, how do we decide that? It could be something to where we look at these average Joe guys and we say, okay, guys, you guys are all located here. Here's a central lake. We're going to put on an event. You 50 show up, last man standing, you're in.
Nice.
We might go to Chickamauga, southeast guys from Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, all that stuff. You 50 guys show up, last man standing, you're in. There's a lot of things that we're going to do to kind of, like I said, we'll fill the field, but we want kind of that unknown. We want that NASCAR young guns when Smoke and Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. came with the Gillette boys and young. We want those college guys, those young people. We want those unknowns to come in, and we want to market them. And that's a great idea there as far as a wild card to get into the field.
So Hank Snow says, since everyone will be signing a contract to fish the trail, will there be an opportunity for other fishermen to join the trail, to fish and join the trail?
Yeah. So here's what's going to happen. We think the way that we set it up, as far as the 2-year contract with option of a third, and the reason we give an option for a third is, look, things change in life. People move. They have children. They've got to focus on this and that. We don't want to box in anybody for longer than 3 years. We think 2 years is fair because we're giving them an opportunity. They don't have to requalify. They can go to their sponsors and sell 2 years, if not 3 years. But eventually what we're going to do is we will grow this thing into where we will have a qualifying circuit. Because after the third year, that fourth, fifth, and beyond, it's going to be 25 out, 25 in. Well, where do we get that?
Yeah.
We either go to the Costa side, the BFL side. We go to see the Anglers in Action guys that might want to do it. We look at their resumes. Or do we start a small little local regional feeder qualification process where we say, hey, we're going to have a 2-day tournament at Lake of the Ozarks. 50 guys, 100 guys, whoever show up, the last two standing or last three, boom, they get 2-3 spots. We'll go to, Okeechobee or Lanier or Harris Chain. Let's do the same thing. Last three standing, boom, you guys are in. We'll go out to Mead or Havasu. Qualifying 2-day tournament, last three standing, boom, you're in, and go from there. There's a lot of things we can do.
Yeah. I saw an interview on The Real Shot, and I should give them a shout out. They did the first interview with y'all. I think they had Paul with them. Or no, they had Brad with them.
They had Brad Fuller with Omega Custom Tackle.
Yes, great interview. First time I've seen them, and I just needed to say they did a great job, and thank you for them doing what they did because it was cool. Okay, another question was, will there be cutoffs as each days go by? Jason Beck asked that question.
So for the first 3 years, all the anglers will fish all 3 days. And then when we get into years 4 and 5, then we will have a championship day cut down to the top 25 or the top 50. We're still trying to figure that out because our ultimate goal by year 3 or 4 is to pay 1 and 2 boats. So if we have a field of 125 and we're paying 63, that championship cut could be down to 63, whatever it might be, top 25. We're still working on the logistics of that. But the reason that we're having these guys in the first 3 years fish all 3 days, I love the Cinderella story. I love a guy that might be 2 pounds, 4 ounces, maybe 10 pounds in 50th place or 40th place or maybe 60th place. And all of a sudden they bang a bag down at Grand Lake like Edwin Evers did of 30 pounds and just fly by the field and bam, they're raising that check up for $50,000. So there's a lot of times where guys, if we cut down to 25 and they're in 26 at 2 ounces, goodness gracious, that's a little drink of water out in the desert that really tastes good because it's only 2 drops. But we want to have that Cinderella story.
Yeah.
We want to be able to market that. And look, going into it for you media guys, just think of the stories that you could write coming into Saturday. Say the 2-day total is 30 pounds, okay? 2 15 days or a 16, 14. And then 60th place is at 22 pounds or at 20 pounds. Man, there's a lot that can go on. Those guys are all on the Weather Channel. They're checking out, man, is it going to wind blow this way? Is the rain coming in? Is it going to get cold? Do I have to fish deep? And can I throw up the docks? But to have all those guys out there, plus on top of that, if we have an event at Rayburn, say, and a guy's coming from Wisconsin or coming from Florida, to ask him to fish 2 days and go home is not fair investment-wise, okay? Now, they're going to team up as far as lodging goes with the hotels and all that kind of stuff. But really, how many times have you seen guys that they go to a tournament, they fish 2 days, they 17-pounded on day 1, they 11-pounded on day 2, they just missed the cut. And then they say, you know what, I don't have to be home till Sunday. I'm going to go out and fun fish. And they crash 25 on day 3. And then they go to the leaderboard at the end. They go, holy cow, I would have been in 4th place. This sucked. We're not going to do that.
Just last week or 2 weeks ago, we had Terry Scroggins out here on the Harris chain, 5 pounds over 39. 5 fish, 39 on
Good
frogs.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I mean, he annihilated everyone.
These top waters, as far as frogs, you're seeing more of the rats, and now I'm seeing more of the ducklings.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, basically what we're going to see probably in the next 5 years is we're going to see anglers that have shoulders bigger than NFL players. Because
they got to throw those big ones.
You got me.
Okay. Have you? Yeah, I got you.
Yep.
Have you guys had it? Because last year, one of the things Bass did, there was some reaction stuff that Bass had to do after Major League Fishing. But one of the things they did was they did not really a signing bonus, but they gave the anglers some of the big name guys a credit towards fishing in their tournament in the elites. Has there been any thought about doing that to some of the bigger name guys that might possibly be moving, that aren't happy with FLW right now, don't want to fish Major League Fishing or won't qualify for Major League Fishing, and they didn't fish the Open, so they can't move into the elites? Have you given any thought to maybe giving a credit to a giant name guy to get him into the National Professional Fishing League?
That's not in the cards right now. Not
Okay.
that it won't be something in the future. Look, we're low man on the totem pole. We're green. There could be some sponsor exemptions as far as what the sponsor investment is, but we really need those entry fees. And then the other thing about it too is, look, we want everybody, all 125 are going to be treated the same. They all got to pay to play. Okay. Yeah. Now, like I said, if somebody, as far as the sponsorship goes, and they bring in somebody for $100,000, we can take that $30,000 and put it back into that pool because we need that money for the $500,000 payout per event. Look, when we started this thing, whether it's they always say the last guy to graduate in med school is still a doctor. Whether he's 1 or 250, he's still a doctor. He's still going to tell you, Steve, hey, you got laryngitis, here's antibiotics, okay? We understand the exposure big names can bring. You take the top 20 guys and all of the different trails out there, yeah, that gives us cachet. But I will tell you this, there's a lot of guys on the outside looking in that got some skills, and they're going to get a following regionally, whether they're an Alabama guy, a Texas guy, a Florida guy, a Virginia guy, a Wisconsin, a California, Arizona guy. We'll build that up there. But as far as giving an exemption, come on and fish, no entry fee because of who you are, that's not in the cards right now.
So here's the really tough question. We know FLW lost millions upon millions of dollars every year doing their tournament. How do you guys not fall into that category and just lose your asses? No offense.
I'm never offended. Never.
I mean, either am I usually. But how do you think you have the group of people? I know you have the partners that you have right now are a great group of individuals. But do you think you have all of it put together so that you don't fall behind FL and do what FLW did?
Yeah, look, we would not have put out the press release on Monday if financially, this is an investment from all four of us out of our own pockets. And then we've got to go out and get the sponsors. Like I said, we've got a 16-month process to get this all done before, we put that first boat in the water. But look, even a big corporation like an FLW, you still have to mind your P's and Q's. And I'm not saying that they did anything bad there or all that stuff, but, you just really have to be cognizant of what's going on as far as your spend goes, where you're putting your money at. Our biggest investment, like I said, is going to be in the optics of this thing. That's from trailer stage to live streaming. We understand that cost there. But look, we can't go out on the road and, hey, let's go stay at the Waldorf. Hey, let's go stay at, hey, we've got to be cognizant of this because for us, we're looking at 20, 25, 30, 40, 50 years. This is day one Bass in March or day one FLW with the National Professional Fishing League. We want to give an opportunity for these guys that have maybe qualified but haven't gotten the invite to fish on a level that finally they strive for, they've worked for and everything. It's a heavy investment, but it's big time money. And then there's the opportunity to where this is the stepping stone that they needed. I'm not going to begrudge an angler if he says, hey, Brad, Michelle, Al, Paul, love what you guys are doing. It's great. But God, since I was 13, I've always wanted to go fish for bass. They've asked me to come based on what I've done on your trail. I'm going to shake that individual's hand and say, go get a cup, go get a classic, whatever it might be. We'd love them to stay with us, but this is an opportunity there. But you got to mind your P's and Q's when it comes to finances and what you're doing. And we're going to do that. And we wouldn't have put the press release out there if we weren't financially stable as far as where we're investing our dollars and what our budget is. End of story.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Hank asked another question. He said, as sponsorships, let me put it on here, as sponsorships for the league increase, will you lower the entry fees for the anglers?
So there's two things that are going to happen here. Here's my ultimate goal as sponsor dollars come on. 1 and 2 boats. I want to pay half the field. Okay? Mm-hmm. I want half the field to get paid. And that guy at 62 or 63, I want that person to make $9,000, $10,000. Okay? That way, at the high end of their expenses, $7,000 for an event entry fee, lodging, fuel, all that stuff, they're making $2,000, $3,000. They're in the black. I don't want a guy to come there. He goes, hey, man, look, I cashed a check, but I lost $3,000. Well, what the hell? I mean, that's no good there. The other thing is, here's my ultimate goal, and this is the 5-year plan, but I want to get there sooner rather than later. When sponsorship dollars come on, the first thing I want to do is I want to take all 6 events from first place at $50,000 to $100,000. That was my initial payout that I wanted. I wanted to compete with the big boys out there. I wanted that 100,000, 6 figures up there for that angler. So as far as sponsorship dollars coming in, we're going to put the majority of that money back into 2 things. It's either a trade-off between entry fees or adding it to the pot as far as winnings, mm-hmm. and into our optics as far as live streaming goes. We want to take it to the next level and the next level and the next level. We're all about, I would love to get, the perfect equation if the numbers add up. $2,500 a tournament and you're fishing for $550,000 or $600,000. But you need sponsorship dollars to do that. If you don't have it, you can't do it. You're out kicking your coverage on that. But to answer the question, absolutely, I want in year 5 that championship check to be worth $500,000, and I want to pay the angler of the year $100,000. So this is where those investments will go back in there. I think in the long run, sponsors see that. They're going to just come. We're going to have to go work for them, but a lot of them will come knocking on our door.
Yeah, it seems like you've got this whole thing a lot better. I know you have it planned, but it seems like you guys have this a lot. You have it tightened up more than I think that I thought you could at this rate. To be honest,
sure.
Because I know last year Major League Fishing came down here to Kissimmee, and I thoroughly expected it to be just a complete S show, just everything going wrong, and it didn't. And it sounds like you guys are on that same path that Major League Fishing is doing, and that's wonderful to hear, because you're going to have your haters and everything that we do.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's all right. Look, you know what? One of the greatest things is trying to convince them. If we had everybody there chopping and patting us on the back and all that stuff, we're not in this thing as far as egos go. Look, I'm going to be down at events. I'm going to talk to anybody, Brad, Michelle, Paul, all of our crew and all that stuff. This is about bringing an event, number one, to a fishery or a town or a community to help them as far as their economic impact when maybe they're not during their recreation time, mm-hmm. Their summertime. So it's another opportunity to bring tax dollars, fill up those hotels, fill up those small mom and pop bed and breakfast, whatever it might be. But for us, look, you don't just jump into this thing without having. Look, I got so many spreadsheets, Steve. I got a bone to pick with Excel. If you find Mr. Excel, let me know because I'm gonna whoop him. I'm gonna whoop him big time.
Well, when I texted you the other day, you were like, "I'm slammed," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he's really busy." That's all you wrote. Actually, you wrote something else.
Well, actually, honestly, that wasn't a metaphor. Actually, I got body slammed by Hulk Hogan. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But no, we worked out the logistics. Look, my biggest butterflies in my stomach. Hey, Al, you're going and putting on a fishing event, and you got to pay $500,000, and plus you're going to have expenses. Whew, man. You know what? Why don't you just take that whole notebook right there, go over to the trash can, and throw the damn thing away? But I'm like, you know what? Like I said, the Terrell family, my dad started it with me, with the family and fishing. The Terrell family took it to the next level, how they run their investment into their trail, Midwest region. There's no competition between us. trail and what I'm trying to do as far as a professional fishing league goes. But this is what I like to do. If you talk to anybody associated with the Big Bass Bash or Anglers in Action, I try to make the event a little bit more exciting for them. And hopefully that does something to where they want to fish our trail, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm all about this. We're going to work hard to do it. It'll be a lot of arguments, blood, sweat, tears, and all that stuff. But it's going to be fun, and it's going to give a lot of people options, from the anglers to the fans and the sponsors.
Yeah. Okay, last question. I'll let you go. Mark wrote, will the tournaments be spread out across the United States in a major to give everyone a chance to attend an NPFL event? So
Yes.
You're gonna have two in the spring, 2 in the summer, 2 in the fall. Are you gonna go? Well, here, let me expound on Mark's question. Are you gonna try to go to big places where there's big fish, and it's pre-spawn, or are you gonna go to just places where there's great fishing? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So great question. So here's the logistics of the schedule. I will tell you this: we will have our schedule out as far as in writing. These are going to be the dates probably by mid next year, because we've got to look at some other schedules and all that stuff. Like I said, the number one thing for me is I don't want to deny guys Bass Opens, whether it's the Eastern or Central Division. I mean, it's just not fair. Yeah. You just don't take away that opportunity. People that fish our circuit, look, it's not a derby or a jackpot. You're going to have to fish all 6 events. You qualify, you're going to the championship. So we want a little bit of loyalty there. As far as the fisheries goes, look, we got 125 anglers. We can get on a lot of great small lakes that guys are not going to. We're also going to go to the big boys. The Lake O's, the Chickamaugas, the Lake of the Ozarks, the Rayburns, the Toledo Bends, the Meads, the Havasus, the Clear Lakes. We're going all out there. I really think, to not go out west and to have your name the National Professional Fishing League is a contradiction. And I really think the market out there is waiting for
it's untapped.
A pro circuit to come out there. So I've talked to guys out west, from Washington to Oregon to Arizona to California. We're going to come out there. Now, what I will tell you, and this is where we get back to the working man aspect of it. People are always boxed in. Working man's trail and it's 30,000, bupkis. Well, okay, I understand that point. Go ahead, write it out there on stuff. When I say working man, guys have families, guys have a business, or they have a job. I'm not going to send them in the same year from Lake Okeechobee in the spring and then in the summer to Clear Lake.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, okay? When I say working man, by my definition, I should have been a little bit clearer. That's no big deal. But every other year we'll go out west and we'll do 2 events. We'll do a Clear and we'll do a Mead or a Havasu or a Shasta, whatever it might be. But we'll do those 2 events to where guys can go fish Mead, and then 4 weeks later they got to come out to Clear Lake so they can, park their boat, their trailer or whatever out there, and they don't have to run back and forth. But I'm not going to go to Champlain to Okeechobee to Toledo Bend or Rayburn and then out to Clear Lake in 1 year. Yeah. That's what I talk about. That way, guys, number one, the schedule's spread out. And then number 2, we still want them to run those billboards, those trucks and boats down the road, because that's good return on investment for their sponsors. But we don't want them running. Hell, do I want to put an event in Australia, put it on a tugboat and let's go? No, we don't want them to run that far. That's ridiculous. They've got jobs, they've got families, they've got kids to raise, they got ball games to see. They've got to punch a clock. We understand it. That's what I'm talking about, working man. Scheduling around what's best for that angler, family, and job.
Dude, I gotta say, we wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna put some of this on our radio show on Saturday morning that's broadcast throughout Florida. I'm gonna have to cut it apart a little bit, but I'm gonna put a bunch of this on here. This will go on our YouTube channel here once I hit finish. But let's keep in touch, and if there's something that we can do to help promote, if you're coming down here to Florida, you tell me, and we'll get it out there for you. That's the best way to say it.
Most people say I need to cut and edit. Randy Terrell, the director of Anglers in Action, the Big Bass Bash and founder, he calls me the mouth for a reason. So you definitely need to cut and edit because I talk too much.
You did great, and we really appreciate it. You also have a business that we should plug. It's Elite Angler. It's ANGLR,
Correct.
and you have a whole bunch of apparel, hats, shirts, all sorts of stuff. You have Worldwide. James Watson is one of your guys. I know that.
Yep.
But you can go on there if people want to apply to be on the National Professional Fishing League. What email address should they send the application to?
Okay, they need to send it to Al at Elite Angler. That's ELITEANGLR.com. They can send the application also to Paul at cashandrods.com.
And by the way, we should give a shout out to. I don't have a cash and rod, but they have my boy
Best.
Fat Cat Newton's on that team, I think, and
Skinny?
I love.
Oh yeah, Skinny's on the team.
So, yeah, shout out to Fat Cat, my right now high kick. And I love that they sponsor Fat Cat because he's the best. So,
Yeah, Steve. I just put a post last night on our Facebook page, the National Professional Fishing League. It talks about anglers and sponsors and how to get in contact with us. It's very quick, easy read. The emails are there. Send that to us. We'll file it in the correct folder, and we're going to go to work.
You have a website. Is it nationalprofessionalfishingleague.com?
So the website will be up and running this weekend.
Okay.
We're working through a few things there. We got a great group that's working on that. But everything that we do, go to our Facebook page or Instagram. But all of that information will be disseminated on our Facebook page. And like I said, I put that up there as far as sponsors and anglers, how to get in touch with us and send your resumes or your product information.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you.
Again, let's keep in touch. We appreciate your time today. Everyone go check out the National Professional Fishing League on Facebook, and their website will be up there soon. But Al, thank you again, and I'm going to hit finish, and I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Steve. Appreciate it.
Later, guys. Okay, remember to subscribe, be part of the Fish in Florida Radio family, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Cheers.